r/AskReddit. What's the dumbest thing you have ever believed? For the longest time, when I was young, I believed getting new training shoes made you run faster. As soon as I got a new pair, I'd go outside and have my distance set between two lampposts. I'd swear it felt like I was quicker with every new pair. This is great. You were probably right, not because of the shoes, but because your legs were getting longer. Or he was getting a little better at running. If you swallowed watermelon seeds, they'd grow in your stomach. My brother and his friend said that to me once while eating watermelons. Me, being very young at the time, believed them and got scared because I swallowed some seeds. For about a year after, I thought that my testicles were watermelons growing inside me. When I was like 5 or 4, I strongly believed that it wasn't people growing up that caused their clothes not to fit in anymore, but it was clothes becoming smaller and tighter by themselves. I planned to keep a piece of my clothing and see how small it could get and whether or not it would vanish at the end. Well, we do say that shirt's getting too small for you instead of you're getting too big for that shirt. Great story. Yeah, I believed the literal meaning of the expression at the time until I was corrected about it, almost causing my mom a heart attack from laughing. Not me, but my friend. He believes, still to this day, that all bus stops are sanctuaries and that you can commit any crime and not be charged as long as you are in the confines of the bus stop. Mind you, we are both 27. I have no idea where he got this from, but when pressed about it, his answer is always this: dude, that's why you see so many people at bus stops shooting up heroin and smoking crack/meth. They can't get in trouble there, and if they odd, the ambulance knows right where to go. To which my response is, you're an idiot. Drugs aside, what if someone murders someone else at a bus stop? Are they still free to leave? Dude, I'm not gonna fucking argue semantics over this. Just look it the fuck up. Fucking Google it. Bus stops are sanctuaries. Then googling it only reaffirms his belief, because there's not some very specific webpage that explicitly says that crimes are still crimes at a bus stop. See man, I fucking told you. If I was wrong, it would be on the front fucking page of Google. There was a light yippee fountain near where I lived when I was a kid. The lights changed color and everything. It was pretty awesome for a kid. My dad told me that a tiny little man was sitting in a tiny little room under the fountain, and he just sat there switching lights on and off. I believed him for years. Something about tiny men parents loved saying. Mine was there was a tiny man in the stereo controlling the music. My tiny man changed the traffic lights. I don't know if there was a tiny man in each one, or just one really busy one that went everywhere. When I was young, I didn't realize that the car indicator was manually controlled by the driver. I thought the car just knew where you wanted to go. A lot of drivers around here still believe that one. No, they just keep forgetting to replace their blinker fluid. A full bottle of blinker fluid in your radiator for every 10,000 uses, people. That Robin Williams and Robbie Williams were one and the same person. He'd wear his old man mask when he was acting for a movie, and his normal version as the musician. Might have gotten confused after watching Mrs. Doubtfire as a kid. Believed this far longer than I'm willing to admit. I thought Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson were brothers. Ah yes, they were in the Michael 5, weren't they? When I first learned what sex was, I didn't realize people did it for fun. I thought it was just a very clinical, boring thing people did when they wanted children. So yeah, there's that. Offshoot story. When I explained baby making to my daughter, I remember stressing that it's a grown-up thing to do. Not too long after, she somehow heard about teenage pregnancy and asked me why the teenagers were doing the baby making if they didn't want a baby. And that's how I got boxed into explaining the recreational side of sex to my 5-year-old. When I was small, I lived in a small town by an oil refinery. My parents convinced me that if you fart on site, it would explode. I was in kindergarten. We went on a class field trip there once, not much else to do in the middle of nowhere, and I felt the gas building in my gut. I didn't want to kill everyone, so I grew quite stressed. I realized that I would need to take extraordinary measures to prevent catastrophe. so I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time with my hand down my pants, blocking my fart. Careful now, he's a hero. I was a solidly grown-ass adult before it came to my attention that narwhals are actual animals and not mythical creatures. Eater, OMG, I feel so validated and supported. Thank you Reddit. If it makes you feel any better, the first time my kids saw camels they were absolutely floored that they were real creatures and not made up like unicorns. It was an interesting talk later when we discussed other animals and which ones actually existed and which didn't. And no, my kids aren't city kids. They've spent an above average time on farms growing up. My sister told me when I was really young that if I used girl shampoo or shower gel I would turn into a girl. I believed her until I was 14 because I just assumed she would never lie to me, which is also a dumb thing to believe. God, if only it was that easy. r/egg_viral. Lol, I've been out for almost 5 years. That several meant 7. I thought a few meant 13. My grandpa had given me a few sunflower seeds, so I counted them so I would know how many a few was. Later I couldn't understand why my mom got so mad at me for taking 13 cookies when she said I could have a few. I thought a few was 3. When I was a kid, I used to think girls had different colored rings around their nipples. Eye colors like brown, blue, and green. I thought that boobs were perfectly round with scented nipples, like headlights. I was absolutely appalled the first time I saw adult boobs. I got over it, though. If someone has boobs like that, there's at least a 50% that they've gotten work done. When I was really little, I really thought the world was in black and white and suddenly became color at some point. I knew that the actors on TV were real people, so they must have lived back when the world was gray. This was backed up by evidence of black and white photos in the family album that also then turned to color photos as people got older. The Wizard of Oz shows the point where we went from black and white to color. I genuinely thought that. Ha ha ha. Batman was named Batman because he was raised by bats, and that cats actually had 9 lives, so if you tried to kill a cat it would literally die then come back to life and go about its daily routine until all lives are wasted. Believed all this shit during up until my teens. How many cats did you kill so you could watch the resurrection? Why do I only catch them in their last life? Peter, stop doing what you're doing. I used to think that actors were there waiting to perform movies/shows every time I wanted to watch it. I always wondered how they got it perfect every time and were always available every time I popped in my favorite VHS tape. Sometimes I'd watch closer, hoping to catch an imperfection. Same here. I can still feel the confusion I felt first time I saw the same actor in 2 different movies at the same time. Clearly they have a twin. That when they had an ad for an upcoming sport event, the footage they showed was from the future. For some reason I thought all TV was live, so that meant that previews were from the future. I blame having older brothers. I'm right there with you, man. I for real thought all TV was happening right then and there, and those assholes that kept interrupting with the same commercials, why didn't they choose a different one? I have been a diehard fan of Teletubbies until 5 years old. You know those moments when they showed some videos of kids doing stuff on their tummy TVs? Well, I used to believe that the kids were real beings inside the Teletubbies and that basically the whole universe we live in was situated in the tummy of a Teletubby. I sometimes think back about that, I cringe a little and say to myself, boy, I was an idiot. Edit. Whoa. Turns out I was doing philosophy at 5. Guess I wasn't so dumb then. Maybe you were onto something. Probably. That I needed to take my dress off to pee. Turns out I could just lift it up. Little kid logic. The boy version of this was the kid who always dropped his pants to his ankles to pee. Every grade school had one of these kids. Come to think of it, I've seen this more than once out at bars. I think the reasons might be slightly different though. Me and this other kid in 2nd grade saw a special ed kid get a talking to from the classroom mate about not pulling his pants all the way down to pee. Later that week, the 3 of us were at the urinals and we saw him pull his pants all the way down. So we sprinted back to the classroom and bust in the door yelling to the whole class, Jack, not his name, is peeing with his pants off. We got in trouble and I was confused because I thought I was doing the right thing since he was told not to do that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for I upload daily and suggest what subreddit I should cover next. Thank you and happy travels.